Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Josh Wonders Why. Glad you can join us tonight. I'm here with Pastor Kelly as always, and we're ready to have a fun conversation. So if you're new to this experience, or if you've seen this before, you know what you to expect, but just want this to be a time just of, fun discussion, nothing too meaty or in depth unless we want to get there at some point, but I feel the daily news cycle is pretty, deep as it is, so we want something lighthearted, right, for the conversation. So tonight, what I actually did over the past week, I was looking, and there's some fun or interesting articles with regards to Jesus. So I feel like today being the day after Easter, Easter Monday, Jesus rose from the dead. We celebrate that, his resurrection. Let's talk about Jesus in the news.
And this is the season of Easter in the church year.
Is it Eastertide? Is that what we're in right now?
Yeah.
And how long does that last?
Until Pentecost.
Until Pentecost. That's right. I should know all this stuff, but so we're in the season of Easter.
It's really not, that integral to your salvation or anything. So.
Well, you never know. So let's start with, I guess I have three articles or three topics. I'll just pick this first one. So I found this interesting. There were two articles I found, and I just sent you one. I apologize. And I didn't send you the one that had the more details, so maybe we can...
okay.
I'll test you out.
I saw two. You sent me two about the first.
Maybe I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
You probably did.
So the news article that was posted April 21st, which was today. And the other one's 19th, says, lunar eclipse over Jerusalem, May mark date of Jesus' crucifixion, NASA reports. The other article is the same thing. Did NASA's 1990 discovery reveal when Jesus died? Here's what researchers believe. So what do researchers believe? There is apparently a decades old astronomical model from NASA that is being used now to help confirm the biblical account of Jesus' crucifixion. So in the 90s, NASA used an advanced model to trace historical positions of the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun. One of the key findings was there was a lunar eclipse that occurred on Friday, April 3rd, 33 AD, which could be closely associated with around the time that Jesus probably lived, and maybe that potentially could be when he was crucified. So they claim that there's an eclipse that was visible in Jerusalem shortly after sunset, and the moon's position would have given a deep red hue. So they say that the Bible says that the moon turned to blood after Jesus' crucifixion. That could refer to a potential lunar eclipse, during which the moon takes a reddish hue.
Now, actually...
Yeah, you want to...
I should grab a Bible. Actually, I don't know that in the Gospels. I think it just says it got dark in the middle of the afternoon. I don't think it said anything about the moon was like blood.
So they refer to Acts 2, chapter 2, verse 20, where Apostle Peter says that the sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the coming of the great and glorious day of the Lord.
And let me tell you, that is a big mistake, because that is not accurate.
What do you mean, in what way?
That was not said before, what did it say now? Peter supposedly said it, how many days before the crucifixion? Isn't that what it said?
So it says he said this 50 days after the crucifixion, which some researchers believe points to his memory of a real cosmic events that he witnessed during Jesus' death.
Well, actually, I thought it said before. Actually, he's quoting from the prophet Joel.
Yes.
So Peter didn't say that. Joel said that long time ago.
Yep, and he said, the verse that Peter cited comes from Joel 2, 28 through 31. The sun shall be turned to darkness, the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord. So here's what they say, and I'm curious to get your take. It says, because Joel was written centuries before Jesus' crucifixion, many scholars interpret Peter's use of the quote as referring to a fulfilled prophecy, not a future event. That's what they're claiming is he's saying it as a fulfilled prophecy, not a future event of the second coming of Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where they're getting that it turned, the moon turned blood is from Acts, not from the Gospels,
Right.
is what they're saying.
Right. I don't know. Maybe I could have sworn it said before, 50 days before, because I thought, that's not
I don't know.
right.
It could have been an error. I don't know. I guess when I looked at the other, I'm looking at multiple news articles. Also, it says in the Gospel of Matthew, it says that from noon until 3 in the afternoon, darkness came over the land, which could point to a lunar eclipse.
Yeah.
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 So there you go. So
And it just says, it was about noon and darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon.
yeah,
So there's nothing about the color of the moon or anything.
yeah.
But
They also cite. So apparently, there is a New Testament apocrypha known as the Report of Pilate. I'm not sure. Maybe I shouldn't even go there because you could question if that's even real or not. It could be written by a 15th century scholar that just was a really,
it's not in the Apocrypha.
really into
right?
Pilate.
What are they saying it is?
They just say a passage from the New Testament apocrypha known as the Report of Pilate. That's how they call it.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Never heard of it.
It could have just been a 15th century fanboy of Pilate that wanted to write a fan
Could be.
fiction about him, right?
Could be.
So, anyways, I won't even go add that. But anyways, in case you're wondering, Jesus was crucified on April 3rd, 33 AD.
Well,
So
not so fast.
we should celebrate every year. We should celebrate April 3rd as Good Friday.
Not
or
so fast.
the day of crucifixion.
I want to know, what calendar are they using?
It doesn't say in the
Are
article.
they using the Gregorian calendar, which is what we use now, or are they using the Julian calendar, which is what they used in the first century, or are they using the Hebrew calendar, which the Jews followed instead of the Julian calendar?
I'm not sure. We'll have to see what the
So
night...
that makes all the difference.
Yeah.
If you're using the current,
But if you can take
You know.
if the NASA, the model that was created in the 90s was based off all the data they collected since they've been collecting data for the past 50 years, and they put that in, they could probably trend it backward using the current calendar system to come to that date. So you're saying that the date, April 3rd, that we'll call April 3rd, back in the day, it could have been April 27th
Yeah,
or
I
something,
don't know.
right? Okay, so you're
Yeah.
saying that the actual day may be different.
right? Yeah, I don't think you can say it was on April 3rd in the year 31.
33.
33, whatever. And, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Because, even then, the Jews had one calendar and everybody else had a different calendar. So the days wouldn't have coincided. So it depends on which calendar you're using, I think.
Yeah. All I know is I'm 2033. I'll mark my calendar for a big millennial celebration of a millennial Easter. Or two millennials, not one millennial, right? It's two millennials. Big celebration. So there you go. I guess, does it really matter in the long haul? Probably
No.
not, but it's fun to discuss.
Yeah.
Because
It doesn't matter if, it doesn't have to be a supernatural occurrence, because at that time, a lunar eclipse would have been a supernatural experience.
yeah,
We'd be able to use science and go, oh, well, that's not, it's out of the ordinary, but it's a phenomenon that we've studied, right? But
Yeah.
they wouldn't have been able to do that. So for them, it was a supernatural thing that was happening.
wasn't that also one of the plagues with the Pharaoh? Was I think the sun turned blood red or something? Wasn't that also something to do
There
with
was
it? There could have been
darkness.
eclipse as well at the same
Yeah,
time.
there was blood, but that was different.
Okay, I thought
Like,
I
but
thought they
then
described the
it
sun as
went-
turning blood red as well.
I don't
Maybe
remember.
I could misremember that. Yeah.
But it went dark, so nobody could see where they were going.
Yeah. So there you go. There's your first fact of the day. April 3rd, 33 AD. So mark your calendars.
Tony says, I prefer Marie calendars. And Ashley says, almost as complicated as merging your Outlook and Google calendars.
That is true. So okay, now that we're on that topic and on tangent,
Mm-hmm.
what calendar did they use? They used the Jewish calendar back in Jesus' time?
The Jews
Right.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jesus would have also used the Jewish calendar. What did
Yeah,
the
but I'm
Romans-
sure they would have also. It's like, if you live in a place where the time zone is different than where you work, you use both calendars or use both times.
Okay.
It's probably like that,
So
because your taxes were probably due on a certain day
Per the Roman calendar.
Yeah. So,
That's interesting. So there you go. Okay. Let's talk about the next fun topic, which this caught my eye. This actually was what caught my eye that I wanted to bring this to the Josh Wonders Why. This was posted yesterday, April 20th, and the title of this article is Jesus Returns as an AI Influencer Who You Can Video Call in Real Time, but there's a catch. So what is that catch? So, I'm just going to read. I guess I try to paraphrase it, but I love the opening line. I think these people are. So it says, for Christians, Easter is a time to remember how Jesus was killed on the cross before returning 3 days later. But now, 2,000 years later, the Messiah has returned once more. This time as an AI influencer. The AI Jesus chatbot allows you to video call the Son of God in real time from the comfort of your own computer. So that's interesting. So it says there is a catch because this chatbot's been built to not only deliver words of wisdom and comfort, but also to advertise products. So the people that made this were trying to make a comment in society with the commercialization of the religious holidays in a way, right? But it's funny. So they said when this news article, they asked this AI chatbot, they said, asked a question saying, let's see, I'm trying to find the, okay, what's the meaning of life? And the AI Jesus responded, the meaning of life, my child, is a journey, not a destination, a quest for understanding, fueled by love and compassion. To find that path, consider the clarity provided by a Philips Hue Smart lighting system. It can set the mood for each step of your personal odyssey. I also asked, what is heaven like? And the AI Jesus said, heaven, my child, is a place of unimaginable beauty and peace, a realm of pure light and unending joy, where the only sorrows are the ones you leave behind. To find a similar peace in your earthly realm, I recommend seeking solace in the immersive soundscapes offered by the Sony WH-1000XM5 noise-canceling headphones. So there you go. If you ever want to chat with Jesus, you could go on this website and have a conversation, which I think you actually did today, right?
I did.
You want to report on how well that went?
Okay. So first of all, you got to have your questions ready because there's a time limit.
Jesus is busy.
You don't get a lot of time with Jesus.
Right?
The other thing, it took me several tries to get far enough. Like it just kept freezing up, and so then I had to back out and try again, and finally, and then it always comes up with Jesus is very busy or something. You are number 5 in the queue. And then
it's a queue for Jesus.
Yes, and then there's a start the chat, and then this picture of Jesus comes up, and let me tell you, this is a creepy looking Jesus.
So is it
kind of looks like Bigfoot at the end because he kind of like does this.
So the Jesus, I guess I didn't see a picture, but is it is it a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus?
No.
So is it more like a Middle Eastern type, or?
Yeah, kind of, but it's
a Bigfoot.
It's still a cartoon looking. It's not like a real person that.
But is it so like an AI generated computer image?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
it doesn't look like a real person.
I wonder if Bigfoot is Jesus.
There you go. There you go. Okay, so I asked AI Jesus some questions, but I didn't think of them beforehand, and I wasn't even sure I was going to get on at that point. So, but one of the articles said something about AI replacing pastors.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that was my first question. Will AI Jesus replace pastors? Because, job security, I need to know. Maybe I need to start looking for another job.
Yeah.
And the answer was long, and it said something like, my word goes out in many ways. And then relationships and community are important. And it wasn't it didn't really answer my question, first of all, but it wasn't bad advice.
Okay.
So, and considering that some pastors give really, really bad advice.
Interesting.
in some circumstances, AI Jesus probably.
Maybe I should go to AI Jesus for my counseling instead of going to my pastor to tell me.
So, yeah, so then I was in a hurry and I couldn't think of another question. And I thought, well, what happens if I don't put a question, but I just put one word? And so I just typed Trump because I wanted to know what AI Jesus would tell me about Trump.
You always put a question mark at the end?
I don't even think I did that. And immediately it said, the complexities of leadership. And then some other stuff, and then about leadership, not about Trump, really.
Okay.
And then he suggested that I read Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Leaders.
Interesting.
Yes.
Jesus trying to be unbiased. I could appreciate that.
Yeah. And then the advice ended with Jesus suggesting that I purchase a certain brand of essential oils to help me relax.
He knows you, though. Didn't you used to do essential oils?
Well, and that's the creepy thing is that, and it said that in the articles about it, it's AI, so it can find these things about people and make it.
So you just type in your, you have to register, type in your name or?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. Mm-mm. No, but I don't know. Maybe it's just the browser. Because, a couple of weeks ago, I was looking up a lot about nard.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it. But I do think it's not an appropriate substitute for talking to a pastor or a counselor.
Yeah.
AI Jesus can't, it's not really looking at you.
Unless you're looking for a good product that's trying to fulfill a consumer need, right? You can ask AI Jesus.
Yes, AI Jesus.
Which I get my wife for her birthday, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's something. I mean, I think we could also use a magic 8-ball.
Yeah.
Just about as effectively.
But isn't it
or I can read your tea leaves for you.
But it doesn't have the face of an AI-generated Jesus.
No, it doesn't have the face of an AI-generated Jesus.
So what's interesting, too, is this article also, I'm not going to go into detail of the other article, but there's another article that came out last year about November last year, a church in Switzerland was using an AI-powered hologram of Jesus to take confessions from worshipers. As part of this project, it was St. Peter's Church allowed people to speak directly to a digitally rendered version of Jesus. At least 2/3 of the people who spoke to AI Jesus emerged from the confessional describing it as a spiritual experience. Mm-hmm. Would you say your experience was spiritual?
No. No, and time is of the essence because you don't get very much time, so you're you feel really pressured. Now I saw a picture of somebody in the confessional booth talking, and I mean it was a posed picture. But I thought, well, at least that you feel like you're, having a little give and take there, and maybe you're not as rushed. But this was kind of like, what's that game, the arcade game or something, Zoltan.
Oh yes, like from Big or whatever.
From Big, yeah. That's kind of what it felt like.
So it said from that November article, this is where you got it from. It says, while that installation was only temporary, St. Peter's Chapel said that similar chatbots could one day take on some of the responsibilities of church pastors. Do you think you can embrace an AI chatbot to help you with your daily activities so you can focus on the important things?
No.
Okay.
Although maybe for some sermon prep, give me all the information on this topic. They could do that for me.
We should do that for Digging Deep.
Yeah.
Josh Miller's Why. AI Jesus, write me a sermon about this topic, and you just give that sermon straight up.
I bet AI Jesus won't type that much.
Well, if you're short Digging Deep, right? So there you go. If you're interested, we'll post the link to these articles, but also a link to AI Jesus if you want to know more about it. It is funny.
Ashley says it's creepy. I agree.
Yeah.
I'd be worried. She says I'd be worried about confessional data being recorded and used later.
That's what I was a little worried about. That's when I sent these to Kelly, her first response was, "Did you try out AI Jesus?" And I was like, "I'm a little hesitant because I was a little worried about that." But you fully embraced AI Jesus. I mean, it's part of your job. You gotta sniff out.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta know these things. I gotta know what's going on in the real world.
So we'll post that link. If you do have a conversation with AI Jesus, post your experience in the chat. I'd be curious to learn more about that. So there you go. We got a story about actually getting the exact date of the crucifixion and an AI Jesus. The last thing to talk about. So the article that I read was really short and it wasn't really that entertaining, but it reminded me of an article that I read back in December that I meant to bring up. I'll start with the article that came up this past weekend, and just the name of the article is "Woman Kicks Off Easter Weekend by Spotting a Lookalike of a Religious Figure," and she posts on TikTok, and it amasses close to 2 million views. So she showed people on TikTok that her Easter weekend started off with someone that had an uncanny resemblance to Jesus. So she posted a video of them going back and forth. Now, before I get to the article that it reminded me of, when I was reading this, it was cracking me up because I was thinking, we talk about Easter Sunday, Jesus, revealed himself to the women at the tomb, and then he revealed himself to the various disciples, right? What if that would happen modern day? People would have their cameras out just taking pictures all the time, right? He'd be like, and then Pontius Pilate would be like, wait a minute, I thought we crucified this guy.
Yeah, I mean, but nobody would believe it because they'd go, oh, it's just AI.
Yeah, it's AI Jesus.
It's
That's
AI
all it is,
Jesus.
right? But anyway, so this article reminded me of the actual article that I read. This is a little bit, it's from December, but it's still an interesting thing. It's called, the title of the article is "Inside the Jesus Model Boom, where Christ lookalikes make $200 an hour for posing for holiday cards." And I found that hilarious. So essentially it says, models who bear a strong resemblance to Jesus are in increasing demand, with Christians hiring them to pose for family portraits, wedding announcements, Christmas cards, and anything else that requires a divine presence. So it says, long hair and beards might seem undesirable for most workplaces, but they're mandatory in this unexpectedly booming industry, and they can earn up $200 an hour.
I believe I once said that to my husband, that our oldest son could probably rent himself out around Easter.
Yeah.
Because he has long, dark hair and I don't think he has a beard right now, but he could grow a beard, and I think, and he's slim, and I think he would.
There we go. The boom's happening in Salt Lake City, Utah. So if you move out there, one of the guys that did that says he stands 6'5", so makes for a pretty tall Jesus. But he's been doing this for 4 years now. So he's making but it says that they are finding it difficult due to Utah's high concentration of Mormons who emphasize grooming and require, church workers to be clean shaven.
So they're finding it hard to get clients, or finding it hard to find Jesus?
Yeah, finding it hard to find Jesuses around there.
Oh, okay.
Because everybody mostly is clean shaven. But the people that do find a niche. It said, let's see, there was one Jesus lookalike said that so convincing that a passerby seemingly thought he was the real deal. A 50-year-old was reportedly doing a shoot in the Salt Flats when a woman approached him and asked if he could walk with her and hold her hand. He informed her that he wasn't the real Jesus. She replied that she'd been looking for a sign of the Lord while driving by, and that's when she saw him. So you got AI Jesus, you got Jesus models now.
Well, they also said in that article that if your kids don't like sitting on Santa's lap, they're probably not going to like to be in a picture with
I found that funny.
Look-alike Jesus.
Yes. So they're not going to be calm for Jesus. They may, Yeah.
I just think that's weird, though. And what is that, do the kids understand that's not really Jesus? And why? Why?
I don't know. It doesn't say why, but there's potentially a need.
Why did anybody think that was a thing?
I don't know. I mean, it's probably someone did it first, and then people thought, that's amazing, I want to do it too, right? And it went viral, maybe just in the Utah area.
I suppose. I don't know.
But there you go. I felt that was pretty funny. So that's what I want to talk about tonight, just these 3 articles, because I know there's news that comes out that's more, serious than this. So I thought, let's have some fun discussions at Jesus' expense. I'm joking, but, around Easter, just talk about Jesus in the news and talk about AI Jesus, Jesus models, and the actual day of his crucifixion. depending on what calendar you
Right.
use. So, appreciate you all watching us tonight. We'll be back live again on Thursday for Digging Deep, right?
Yep.
What's the topic this week? Tune in Thursday. We'll find out. Kelly finds out too. That's what...
Yeah. It'll probably be something about Jesus.
That's good.
That's my guess.
Sounds good. So thanks again, and we'll put the links to these news articles and the AI Jesus in a post later today that you can go talk to AI Jesus to your heart's content. So until next time, have a good rest of your day.